Oh, hey guys. It's another episode of Mindset U. It's episode 77. You got Punchline Jay here. You got Rances next to me. And King Mo. I do not like the fact that he enjoys that condescending nickname so much that he... Yeah, I fucking hate it. No, I'm not, you know what? You're not King Mo anymore. Fucking Moody Mo. Fuck that. Anyway, today's podcast is all about this podcast and our journey of how we got here and how we're letting this ship sail, since we like to use the ocean thing so much. Don't forget to find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, not Google. I mean, you could look us up on
Google Podcasts.
Google Podcasts. You're right. There is such thing as Google Podcasts. And don't forget to visit VidaProject.com. And yeah, that's all I got. So have fun. Listen.
What are we trying to do? What is this journey that we're trying to do with this? All right. So, for example, let's go back to like where this comes from. This comes from Moses and I building Vida Project with the goal of helping people become empowered, helping people learn how to take control of their lives. And what we found was mindset is the baseline of all of that. And then we wanted to make a podcast to reach other people, to be known, to be seen for what we do.
And then we brought Jay in because we're not funny. We're not
Yeah, they were really fucking boring.
Yeah, we would just talk a lot
I
of
love
shit.
them so much, but God,
We talked for too long.
talk about wanting to be anywhere else but the present. Talks to these two for a fucking half an hour.
Whoa.
Just kidding.
I can see Rances. You can get lost a little bit sometimes.
No, it's just it's not talking to you guys. It's when you guys start talking about mindset stuff that you guys get so inside baseball about it sometimes that like the ordinary person is like, and you have to like be really, really into it. So I think that's the issue.
I don't necessarily agree with you on that 100%. I think because your perspective and approach to life is first of all, your parents are very kind of direct.
Yeah.
And they believe that you work hard, shit happens, and that's just the way it is. So you've grown up with that mindset. Yeah. So for you, when we talk about the intricacies and the nuances of like,
pussies.
About those things, you're just like, who fucking cares?
Yeah.
But I would say that the average person actually goes through all these other things that you don't necessarily experience.
It's not that I don't experience them. It's just I don't feel the need to talk about them. So no, I think you're 100% correct on that. I just know from a podcast standpoint that sometimes it can go a little long.
Yeah, it went long. You want to know something? We actually looked at the analytics today, and the one that we did an hour for.
Yeah. No. I don't mean.
They've been watching it.
I don't mean the actual length of it. I just mean when you guys get into like your whole bag about certain topics that it can go long.
Like far into the ocean?
Yes. You're sailing in the ocean, and you guys don't know which direction you're going. It's just a boredom. You're going to the direction of boredom.
But that's a factor, right?
But it's also my,
Yeah, your entertainment based.
My uneducated opinion, essentially.
But that's interesting because like it all depends on who it's landing.
Yeah.
Right? When we've done talks where we're like, we're gonna help you figure this part about your life out. And when we're talking about that, people who are struggling with that are super engaged with that conversation, that talk. Nerds. Right? So like, for example, if we start getting inside baseball with physical capacity and training and so on and so forth, you're going to be interested with that if it applies to your performance.
True.
That's inside base. So it's how much does it relate to your current life at the moment? And I think what happens with the podcast is that we're trying to relate to a bunch of people. So we make the concept very broad. And it doesn't really relate to anyone. So
that's what just brought something to my mind is like we should really consider looking at what's actually happening in the world and how people may be perceiving it.
God damn it, I have to start watching the news again?
Yeah, man.
Fuck.
Like that's what you're good at. Like
I got out of that game.
yeah, no, but that's what you're.
I straight up have not watched the news since I left a year ago.
Well, like maybe we just see what's trending, and then see what people are actually talking about.
what,
Like
though?
for example, the Barbie movie. This is pretty fucking interesting.
Yeah.
Why does everybody like the fucking Barbie movie?
I haven't watched it yet.
And did you see? I didn't see it either.
Yeah.
But did you see that there are two big movies, Oppenheimer and then Barbie. And then there was a map.
Yeah, so
And it's the Republican states all love Barbie. And then all the Democratic states, Oppenheimer. I'm like, what does that say?
right?
What does
Super
that say about?
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I watched Ninja Turtles the other day, and that shit was awesome. It just hit every. I think I'm just gonna steer off topic because I want to. I think it actually it's gonna go back to Barbie. I think people love nostalgia, and there's something about Barbie that when they first go into it, it's like, oh, that reminds me of my childhood. Now, when they go walk out of that movie, they realize that Barbie's from what I hear, and I guess what you hear a lot of people say is like it has a lot of progressive feminist views on women in society and stuff like that, which is really fucking cool, I think. And it's also really good for little girls to see and stuff like that. That Barbie's the main character. She realizes what death is and stuff like that. So like from what I hear, it's cool in that aspect. But then you hear it from the other side where they're like, they're just putting on their feminist views for young women and stuff like that, And I'm like, shut up! Like, it's fucking Barbie. Like,
here's what I think. Like is what you said.
Yeah.
It's like you throw out a piece that everyone's gonna be like, oh, I know what that is.
Yeah.
I want to check it out. And then you bring it in, and then it goes into a deep concept that you're like, oh, wow, I never thought about it that way. Once you get into that concept, but there's something that you have to relate to at the beginning.
Yeah.
And I think that's the truth for movies like Barbie. There's a lot of concepts there, but the storytelling is what makes it amazing because like you get involved with the character, you see yourself in that person. But that's the part about seeing yourself. And I think like what makes some of our podcasts much better than others is because we get honest. We start talking about our journey, our struggles, and we break it apart with each other, and we're able to share the process on how we put it back together, like the one that's coming out this week about how we resolve our conflict.
yeah,
I think that's interesting because it's real, But the whole idea with that is like, and this is the inside baseball part, that Moses and I have spent hours and hours discussing those things. Like we see them, then we go, we map it out, we draw on a whiteboard, we figure out all the details on how this works, whatever, so we can replicate it. And that's what we find fascinating. Mm-hmm. So then we come out with our whiteboard and we're like, hey guys, look at this process. And everyone's like, what the fuck is this? But we're like, no, it's going to solve all your problems. Believe me.
it always reminds you when you guys started doing that. It reminds you of the Charlie Day from It's Always Sunny, the little one.
Yeah.
That you ever see the meme of him with all the line grass and stuff like that? I'm like, that reminds you of you guys so much when you guys start getting into base, when you guys start doing that. Where I'm like, it makes sense, but like Jesus fucking Christ, like,
why did anyone spend so much brain power?
Well, I think that is a lot of the reasons why people have problems, though. It's that they don't go. I mean, there is a such thing as going too far deep into the thinking, and we're definitely guilty of this.
Yeah.
But I think that you have to sometimes go into those extremes to change your life.
Oh, totally.
There's no way that you, like, if you think about your process so far and how much you've changed.
Yeah. Like not wanting to beat small children who make a lot of noise.
Yeah.
So like, it's a big change for me.
Your process of changing, you went through many different things, right?
Yeah.
You went through extremes.
Yeah.
You went through extremes, and you had to touch that end to then kind of modulate yourself. That's the word that Rances likes to use. Modulate yourself to this new center.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people aren't willing to do that. They stay in this comfort zone, and that's what happens. So then when people hear us talk in these like super extremes, they're they're lost and they don't even want to go into that space because it challenges their current world and their current perspective. And it's easier to be like, I don't understand, than try to understand it.
No, that's fair. And I talk a lot of shit because half the time I actually learn a lot from you guys. And it's just fun to just poke fun at you guys and be like, yeah, you guys talk too much. But then half the time I'm like, oh, if I just stick around and listen to this 2.5 hour fucking thing, they come up with a solution. Look at that.
Yeah.
You know, like last podcast.
but I think there's a part there where, because there's a dynamic that I notice, right? Like specifically with you. With Moses and I, we have a different dynamic of like, we know what we're working towards achieving, and yours is more like, I know what I'm working to try to destroy. So there's that different dynamic, and what happens is like when we are able to pull you in enough with your like, that's stupid, whatever, and then we're able to kind of argue with you of like all those points that you're like, fuck, that makes sense. I don't want it to make sense. It fucking makes sense. Now you were brought into the story, and now that's where it applies. Yeah. And I think we're really good at that, you know.
Oh,
but in a podcast setting, we're not talking to the audience. We're not getting those points of reality and being able to poke at them. Yeah. And then that's where it falls apart.
So yeah, guys, I'm the audience. Think about it that way. I'm the audience. Yeah, that makes sense.
Do you listen to any other type of mindset kind of podcast?
Oh, God,
no, right?
No. God, no. I'd rather do anything else than listen to somebody else tell me how to fucking think.
I think Jay's the complete opposite demographic of who we're trying to reach.
Yeah.
And opposite of who we're trying to reach? Well, who are we trying to reach? Let's talk about that.
Maybe people that are interested in mindset.
But maybe. I wouldn't say so, because like someone that's interested in mindset is like that's a person that's doing the same thing that we're doing, that's doing a bunch of research and learning about the thing.
Not everybody does research though.
Well, that's true. What I was gonna say though, it's like I think it's a person that has challenges and like is looking for a solution, and we're like, hey, mindset is the solution. Yeah. You know? So it's like, because we're not Huberman level, right? That's the podcast you listen to when you're trying to learn about like specific like neuroscience of the eye anatomy and so on and so forth. And we listen to that and we're like, yeah, I'd rather do anything else.
I actually kind of stopped a little bit too. It just started getting too far. Like 3-hour podcast is too much.
You know. It takes even listening at 4 speed. It takes commitment of time. But what I'm saying with that is like, we're not that far into it of like talking to like peers that are, or not even peers, but people that are already surfing the wave of it. I feel like we're more at the entry level of like, hey, these are the solutions. This brings you to the point of like, oh, now you can start to run on this path to figure out what shit is going on in your life and figure out how to take control of it.
Yeah. Are we trying to rebrand the podcast now?
Oh, shit.
Why?
No, he's asking, is this the process that's happening?
Is this the process that's actually happening? Because we don't know the demographic.
Yeah. We don't know.
And if we're not going to specifically do mindset like in that educational format, and we're going more entertainment-wise, like, does that title make sense? Does that brand make sense, though?
I mean, to me, what does it call it? Infotainment.
Infotainment.
Yeah, like it's informative, but it's entertainment too. There's like that's the. So
we want to be like the mindset version of like Bill Nye the Science Guy.
Yeah,
I'm with that.
Yeah. Okay,
I like Bill Nye.
Yeah,
it makes me happy.
I mean, I was gonna throw another title out there. It just popped in my head.
What are you gonna throw?
Rances doesn't want to hear it.
I don't.
Say it. He's so mad.
No, I definitely want to hear it. Say
it. Mind yourself.
Mind yourself?
Yeah.
That what you want to call the podcast?
Yeah, mind yourself. It's almost the same, but it's like, think about you. It's all about you changing you. Mind yourself.
I'm just want to stare at Rances until he says something.
No, it's just like, well, this is like, we've already rebranded like 4 times.
Have we?
Yeah.
No. It was Dreamer's Journey. Now it's Mindset You.
Project Podcast.
Yeah, that channel doesn't exist anymore. We
That's
used
still a
my
great
channel.
channel. That's still technically.
The content is still on YouTube, part of the Mindset U.
Yeah,
On the other sources now. You know what though? This whole idea of like, what are we doing? Is like, you know.
I like Mindset
I feel like
U.
I'm in a long. Yeah, I like Mindset U too. I feel like we're in a relationship right now. We're like, so like, what is this?
I do.
So what are we?
You never responded back. I know you tapped it with the heart thing, but I think rebranding the logo to be more graffiti like with a brain and like it having like a little GIF thing, that would definitely be cool because I feel like the brand right now is too. It looks very educational, very corporate kind of thing. And that's just like not our style right now. Like we haven't been very direct or informationally.
I think you guys have been informational.
Yeah.
You know?
But our better episodes have been more of the entertainment side.
Yeah. But I don't think it's more entertainment side. I just think it's more personal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I wouldn't call that entertainment. That's still informative. It's just that I think we're able to flow a little bit better when we're telling our stories and relating it to whatever topic we're doing.
Well, our personal stories is more entertainment than it is educational.
Well, when we do the social media posts, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. I have a lot of people like, do you care at all when you're on that podcast? And I was like, I swear to God, I actually say some things that make sense.
Because they only see the social media
They
posts.
only see the social media posts.
And
They're
you
like,
just
you
always
don't talk about mindset at all. I'm like, I mean, I talk about how I view things. I was like...
But that's, I think that it's a little bit of both because, all right, so we talk about our story, right? A story that we're going through, an experience that we're going through or went through, right? And then the idea behind that is like, this is the mindset component on how we either can approach that, will approach that, or did approach that. Mm-hmm. And this is how you make this into an empowering story. Like, I think that's, in simplified version, that's the thing. We go off the rails a little bit, but we bring it back to that because it's always about like the mindset. But I think that the personal stories is like, oh, this is what makes it like relatable. This is like, oh, similar situation type of thing.
I think when it comes to me, to the infotainment aspect of it, I need it to be a personal thing rather than somebody just telling me what to do. Mm-hmm. Because then I'm like, who the fuck is this person telling me that I should do this? They don't know my fucking life. But when I hear somebody talk about like their actual struggle or just their story, it's like, oh, this is how they use it. They're not full of shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Kind of thing. So I always learn more from you guys when it's stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Personally. I know everybody else is different and stuff like that. But coming from somebody who fucking can care less about mindset stuff, at least in my my consuming it, that's when I relate most to people, when I learn about how they use it in their life.
Yeah, I agree.
Can we talk about that? Like how we got to mindset? Because I think that it connects to what you said is like consuming it. There's no interest in it on your own, right? So why do we get an interest in it? How did we arrive there?
Fucking nerds.
How did we? I think it was just trying to figure out this entire fucking business and what exactly it is. And at least it was my personal story of like coming from an academic world to then transition into entrepreneurship, which is very fucking different. Mm-hmm. So.
But I also think VidaProject always had like a mindset to it. It was always, you guys are always very mindset heavy of being conscious of like why you do this. This is how we do things here, kind of thing. So it wasn't like when you guys decided to like make the pivot, it wasn't like this is the direction that they're going. I was like, oh no, that makes sense. Yeah. But then I was like, where am I going to work out now?
So to me, I'll share from my journey of it. Is like I started as a personal trainer. And with personal training, it was like, how do I get someone to get results? It's like force them to do the work. And I was like, I'm controlling everything about them. Okay, so how do I get someone to get the results, but also be part of their results and learn more about the physiology about it. Okay, that's great, but still, they're unable to take this on their own. So what is the component that is required for someone to live this, to be this? It's like just shifting their mind entirely, behavioral change, and went into that deeply. And then from there, it was like, oh, how do you call all of this? Mindset. Oh, that's what we do. Mindset shifting. So when we are able to get someone to change their entire life, that is because of a mindset shift. Is the root cause of all changes. And that's how, like, to me, that's the way that the journey came to be. And I know, like, you guys came in different times of that, but to me, it's like, it's pretty, like, linear in that sense.
I can see that. I can totally see that. Yeah, and I think it finally clicked for me. Like when Mo says, for me, it takes extremes. So, like, after, like, fucking putting off getting my gallbladder removed for so long and being on fucking death's door, and I was finally like, oh, I get what they mean now. I really had to fucking take this seriously, and I really had to, really push myself to change my life. Mm-hmm. And you guys were responsible for that. I mean, it took me to almost die to do it, but, like, and I was like, oh, maybe I should start listening. Mm-hmm. And that's really what got me to do it, kind of thing. And I was like, oh, I guess I have to drink the fucking VidaProject Kool-Aid and jump in.
Well, I think the VidaProject Kool-Aid comes from, and this is why it looks like Kool-Aid, is because, and Frances, you've experienced this from the team that we had, is if you rewind and go to that little kind of spiel that you just gave on why your experience, it was always about us trying to download these concepts into other people. But I think what really gravitates to the audience is when we actually talk about how we use those concepts personally. Mm-hmm. And I don't think we necessarily explore those types of things unless naturally we start arguing with each other, and I think that's what makes it like the infotainment. Mm-hmm. Is when we start speaking about how Jay almost lost his gallbladder. I mean, almost died because of his gallbladder, or how, I mean, you have a bunch of crazy ass stories. Like when you had meningitis and you almost died. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't think a lot of people hear that story. How the fuck did you get through that one?
I don't even think I heard that story.
Yeah. And like your team fell apart, right? And your business fell apart during that time. And I was a client of yours at that time. Right? How I slept on the floor of VidaProject for a year. Yeah. Like, those are the things I think really transfer the concepts of mindset. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where the magic is for us.
Yeah. Because, and again, like, that's a great perspective because it highlights how we viewed those experiences. We viewed those experiences as learning opportunities in which we dissected, came up with some concepts, then tested those concepts on clients and saw results. Like, we think about renewed mindset, right? How did that come to be? I have all the recordings of you, me, and Sasha talking about it. Sometimes I listen to them and I'm like, that's hilarious that we're saying these things. We're not even so sure, but it's like, it's just a feeling. It's like, no, but this has to be here because it's going to trigger something. And it did results. Then after we created it, we understand the reason why. And we're so excited to share with everyone, here are the reasons why this works. No one cares until they're part of it, until they're experiencing it. And then they're like, oh, wow. There's something special here. So I think, like, yeah, it makes sense. Like, all of it makes sense. It also makes sense why we're so excited to talk about the boring stuff. Yeah. Because it's like, this boring stuff is what created those results.
But I also think it's because we don't, like, I don't see myself as special. Like, my stories aren't special. So I don't necessarily want to share them.
I think you're special.
I know you think I'm special. Right? I don't think people realize, like, the longest relationship of my life has been Jay, and how that has transformed, and how just even his perspective as a child, right, when it comes to relationships or sex, had deep impacts on the way that I viewed things in my life.
Sorry, any of Moses' exes.
So like, I think those stories are way more influential, and I think they drive the concepts of mindset home.
Yeah.
And I think if we focus on those, we
Are you saying I'm part dad of VidaProject too now? Man, I'm a dad of a podcast and the dad of your whole fucking business? What? He's fuming right now.
I'm not.
You
Not
sure?
at all.
no, Rances doesn't.
Oh, okay.
Rances doesn't care. I mean, if you really want to talk about who changed the businesses, I got Rances to shift that perspective. There was one conversation that we had where he was like, "No, I don't do anything. I just hold the mirror up and people change and
Yeah.
I try. Like I don't want to force people." I'm like, "Motherfucker." I'm like, "It's you, bro. Like that's what you do. That's why people can't explain what VidaProject is because you talk and you make sense somehow and you make someone want to change."
Wait,
And
I think
that's
VidaProject's a ship? I think we're going on a cruise? I don't know.
If you look at the first time the Rances opened VidaProject, which is in that small room, and I did the Man of Steel program, and they took a video of me where I explained like what was most impactful for me. And it wasn't a training program. Like I didn't talk about the program. If you go watch that video, I talked about the culture.
This has been leading me to my question. Do you guys feel like in an alternate universe, you guys would be amazing cult leaders?
And cult leaders? Well, we've been called that before.
You know, that's a serious conversation in which we've had multiple times.
About starting one?
No.
Oh.
Well, technically, good businesses are cults. Like, if you have a great brand, you're technically, that's what people use the word brand.
Both scares me sometimes.
But it's all the same shit. It's a bunch of gray. It's not black and white.
It's what it's associated with, because cult leader is culture leader. What it stands originally stands for, but it has become its own definition of what a cult is, and we know that it's something that's people are being almost mentally brainwashed and manipulated, and that's what cult is.
How I got here, guys.
But that's been an awareness of us from the very beginning, of like, when we create a program, it's like we're not and that's why that conversation that Moses was talking about, that mirror, that's why that was so hard for me to cross over, because it's like, no, if I'm taking responsibility for these results, now that means I'm the one influencing what people are choosing and so on and so forth. That's hard. That's like, you're saying that I'm a cult leader if that's the concept.
Yeah.
And it was like understanding the line of that, of like, what is it that we're getting people to understand it? And it's like, we always talk about this, is to understand yourself. Okay, so the intention is not like what I want. When I'm coaching someone, the intention is not what I think is the right solution for you. The intention needs to be extremely precise in terms of what is it that you want to achieve. We have to understand that first. We can't do anything. Whatever you think is the right direction, that's where I'm going to be your coach. I'm going to be driving you into that direction. If you adjust during the process, say, oh, I don't think this is the right direction anymore, that's my job to keep you aware of all the possibilities and coach you through that process. So that awareness that we've talked about is like, we're able to influence people. That's a big responsibility. We don't take it lightly. So what are we influencing them to? So that's part of like kind of that mission statement for VidaProject and core values. Do no harm.
You didn't answer my question, though. That was all beautiful. And I
In alternate
that.
universe, we would be cult leaders.
Be good cult leaders. I think you guys would be pretty good.
Well,
cult
I mean,
leaders.
if you think about any business, right? A cult leader has a negative connotation to it. So
I mean it the negative way.
Okay.
Like alternate universe, dark
meaning that
timeline.
our intentions would be to cause harm.
Dark timeline, not necessarily cause harm, maybe, but I just dark timeline.
But that's what-
Well, let's
when you think
define
of-
it, because a cult leader, from the perspective that you're talking about, is a narcissistic person that is controlling a community of people for his advantage.
So, like, if Mo gave in to his dark Republican urges.
So you have to understand that we've had this conversation too about how dangerous it is to know the things that we know.
Yeah.
Because we can easily manipulate people.
Yeah.
And that's scary.
Wait, time out. Who's being the diplomats now?
What do you mean, who's being the diplomats?
Who's being the diplomats?
How
that
we
you guys
being-
are
How are
giving
we being
very
diplomats?
presidential answers. I just want you to fucking dig in and be like, we'd be amazing.
But that's kind of what we're leading to. Like,
Okay, so you're
it's
saying that
very
you would be-
powerful skill sets of influencing
Yeah.
people.
So you're saying you'd be good.
Fuck yeah.
Okay, that's all
I'd
I
be-
wanted. That's all I wanted.
But that would be meaning that I have negative intentions. I think I'm a great leader
Yeah, no,
because
I'm
I
talking-
have great
I'm talking dark
intentions right now.
timeline.
So you said if I had a
talking-
darker version of myself.
yeah,
like,
of course. A different universe
Yeah.
kind of thing.
I would fucking rule the world.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
So
I'm the
that
brain that's pinky. Opposite.
Damn. He called you Pinky, bro.
He would be taller in the other universe. I'd be the
I just got like a mental picture of that in my head. And it's very funny.
there's something you said there that I want to call out. You said you have great intentions. What makes the intentions great?
What makes my intentions great?
Yeah.
That I'm not trying to control people. Like I don't necessarily influence to gain benefit of myself.
Yeah.
I influence to help them achieve whatever they desire. Right. In the job that I have right now, my job is to influence so that the business moves in a positive direction, which means more revenue, lower costs, right? Patient satisfaction, all of these different things that are positive. That's the vision and the intention of the business. So I think it's when you have your own stealth intentions, like a cult leader is very stealthy.
Yeah.
Right? They say these like things to convince you that we're doing good or like this is what we're trying to achieve, but in reality this person is really just trying to achieve something for themselves, gain power, gain money, gain access, whatever it is.
Integrity.
Yeah, it's integrity, yeah.
And integrity in the sense of integrating, right? So, like, we were talking about this podcast is like, what is our story and how have we lived a life in terms to put this into practice, these mindset components? That's the integrity here. It's like we live this life for real. We don't talk about these concepts that's like, oh, yeah, if you did this and did that, whatever, and we've never done it. It's like this is the way we live our life. I think that's a huge part of it because it's honest, it's authentic, it's true. Mm-hmm. We've figured out, learned how to do it with others, by teaching others, by doing it ourselves, and by practicing over and over by impacting others.
What would Tall Rances say?
You know, that's interesting. So I just went in that moment, I went through a whole concept. Because it's like, I wonder how much my height has made me learn confidence. Because I have thought about this before, where like confident, let's say a confident, tall, attractive person, right? You don't have to develop a lot of these skills.
He doesn't have to be funny.
Oh, come on. Let's not be so nice.
I don't have to be
He
funny.
doesn't have to be funny.
I don't have to be funny.
No.
I'm tall.
Yeah.
Good look. I could dance.
Yeah.
I'm fucking smart.
You see that
I
butt
could-
on him?
So,
Dude, man, I got a lot of attractive qualities. Before I didn't think that,
so,
but after VidaProject,
but like, no, honestly, like if you have, you know, all the boxes are checked off, like, wouldn't life be easier for you?
Oh, I would never
And
tell
di-
a joke.
And you wouldn't have to, like, for example, like that, like,
Yeah.
learn to be funny or whatever, because people are like, oh, I pick you, right? There has to be a price to pay.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, I'm physically attractive. I'm not tall. I'm short as hell.
Yeah.
So I know that using my physical attractiveness when I was younger, like I didn't have to learn how to pick up girls or anything like that. I literally, when I was younger, like middle school type of thing.
Yeah, I was like, you've been with this one since you were like 14. So was it when you were 8?
No, my friends and I would go to the carnival and we would do things like, how many numbers we can get and all this stuff like that. Literally, I have no game. I just looked at a girl for a little bit, licked my lips.
You didn't speak either, so that makes so much sense.
Lick my lips, and you're like, oh my God, hi, what's your name? And I was like, I had to figure out how to speak later on in life, being a coach. So there has to be a price.
I mean, so you overcame being a mute.
Yeah.
And then also being a midget.
It's offensive. You have two vertically challenged friends over here, and here you are.
Well, you look taller than Jay. I mean, you look taller than Rances.
Well, yeah.
I don't know.
I'm 5'8". I just got my physical on Tuesday.
How tall are you, Rances?
I'm 5'7".
5'8.5".
Ooh.
Yeah. Not that it matters, but I'm not comparing here. Because short or short, it doesn't matter. If I'm not over fucking 6 foot, what does it matter?
Well, you're average height.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe look slightly lower than average. But
once you guys made me like fix my posture, I was like, oh shit, I got like an extra inch here. It's great.
Yeah, I got a friend like that. He's 5'10", but you think he's like short, and then when he stands up straight, you're like, whoa,
oh shit. Yeah.
I think I'm the shortest one from like my family. Like my sister is 5'6". She's tall for 6.5. I think she's almost my height. Then my father's 5'9", my brother's 5'8", my other brother's 6 feet, and I'm 5'7". I'm like, come on, man, I needed the height. I like basketball.
I think your son's gonna become tall.
He looks tall already.
But he's not. He's tiny.
Yeah, he's
11 years old.
He's like a deer. He looks like a little...
But like...
Now, you know how you can tell they're gonna grow? This is what I've learned, is the length of their arms and legs.
Yeah, but that doesn't really work because I got some long ass arms.
Yeah.
I got a short.
But when you see a little kid with really long arms and legs and like big feet,
Are they ever gonna grow into it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
that's what I've noticed whenever I was coach basketball and I see like a little sixth grader come up and I'm like, you're gonna be tall.
Yeah, but
let's start teaching you how to play ball.
You could look at Hector and be like, oh, you should be like 6'5" because of his fucking arms.
Well,
But Hector's pretty tall.
Yeah,
Hector-
He's close to
5'10".
6 feet.
Yeah.
I have a theory that Hector is supposed to be taller because, again, torso is huge.
Yeah.
Arms are huge.
Yeah.
It's only his legs.
Yeah.
So to me, he must have had damage to his growth plates in his legs because it looks funny. His body proportions look funny.
You hear that, Hector? You look funny.
I've been saying that to him. We just call him
I know. Also, guys, I just need to get this out for Hector. Look at Hector's ears.
What's wrong with his
You'll
ears?
notice one's higher than the other, and he's very insecure about it. Bring it up at all costs. Anyway.
So should we wrap this up?
Yes.
Yeah, let's do it.
So what did we learn today?
And we got to make a better
podcast?
podcast.
No, I think it's well, yeah. The goal is to always make a better podcast, but I don't think that's what we learned today. I think we kind of sat back and that third person perspective of like what this podcast is, and I think we were honest about it. And I think that's always the goal, to be honest about what we're doing and what we want to achieve from it. And I think we learned some things, if I can remember them. I can't right now, but
I think this podcast was about us exploring the journey of this podcast, what it's become, how it's become, and us not trying to be like, this is where it needs to go.
Yeah.
This is the experiences that have been teaching us, and these experiences inform us, and we keep adjusting and adjusting.
You know what? When you you've been getting more concise with your fucking stories, and it makes me fall in love with you all over again. All right, guys, that was another episode of Mindset You. Episode I don't remember. It doesn't matter anymore. I'm Jason. 77. Episode 77. Jay, a.k.a. Punchline Jay. We got Robo Rances. We got King Mo, a.k.a. Moody Mo, a.k.a. my baby daddy. See you guys later.
Peace.